Welcome back to the More Smarter Show, the #1 business mindset and strategy podcast. This is episode 42 with your hosts, Jake and Dylan. Jake, what do we got?
We got just us today, which I always joke that this is when everyone hangs up and stops listening.
But that's an April Fool's joke today.
No, it is April Fool's while recording, yes. But you always are like, nah, don't say that. People don't think that.
They don't think that.
You get offended by that.
I think we're just as cool. We have a lot of cool guests, but
honestly, same. I always listen back to every episode, and to be honest, my favorites are the solo ones, but I'm clearly biased. I don't think our small amount of listeners would agree, but I don't know. I really don't know.
I don't know. I think we're getting a lot of very interesting people coming on the podcast, and it's going to keep getting more interesting and having some serious entrepreneurs come on. And I think that's where we kind of go today is we just
let's talk about
the
that
growth we've had.
I agree. So let's talk about, let's start with our future guests, actually.
Okay.
So we're making it's not a pivot by any means. It's still the same show and the same, premise. But our future guests are going to be less people in our world and our sphere of people. And we've had some guests that we personally don't know, but we haven't had an influx of those. And future ones, I think starting next week, there are people from all over the country, and I think potentially international as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be so we're podcasters now, Dylan.
Yeah, we are podcasters. That's legit. And that is going to create, I think, not only challenge our skills as podcasters of being able to interview these people and extract the most amount of information possible, but on top of that, it's going to now enable us to hit a much larger audience, I think.
We'll see. So our goal, Dylan and I talk about this a lot, as if anyone's a follower of the show, they would probably guess that we talk about this stuff a lot when behind closed doors. But we is that better or worse? People, a global reach, or a global guest reach, I should say. People from all over who we don't know personally, who it's hit or miss. Is that more relatable, less relatable? Is it more in common, less in common? So we'll see. But it's going to be different for us.
Yeah. And it's not going to be something that we can just kind of rely on knowing the person. We've had a lot of Jake's frat brothers here. So you can rely on hey, I know you, and we can kind of shoot the shit a little bit. But when you don't know someone and you're talking to them for an hour, it's, it can get, hard to keep, I guess, conversation if they're not as willing to share.
That's right. We don't know if they're personable or not. We have no idea. Yes, we don't just accept everyone. So anyway, all of these leads, I'll call them. We're going to call them leads. All of our guests, have reached out to us in some capacity, filled out a form, saw our podcast, reached out to us. We've had plenty of reach outs that that our review team reviewed, and we're the review team.
You're not supposed to say that part.
I know, my bad. Hopefully they're not listening. But anyway, sorry, guest. Our review team reviewed your application. We don't think you're a right fit right now. And the reason that would be is because maybe they're not working more smarter in the way that we want to interview someone, right? Everyone's working more smarter in some capacity, but if you don't have employees or systems or processes or willing to talk numbers on this podcast, for example, then they're not necessarily an intriguing episode. So we don't accept that. Yeah. So all the people that although we don't know them, we know about them. They filled out an application. We've gone back and forth, but that doesn't mean that they're personable interviewees, right? Yeah. It doesn't mean that they're going to be able to hold a conversation well with two strangers.
Totally. Yeah. Here's the hard part though with that is we talked about this before, where if I applied to the show, even now, I think even owning this multifamily, I don't even think that I want our parameters to be so strict that I wouldn't even be accepted to the show. I don't think that is
same.
Same. With that, now we want to make sure that we're getting the highest quality guests, but then on top of that, having someone that is able to have banter and great conversation. So we've been doing a lot more on the back end side to kind of vet out our guests. So, which means that we're going to be getting these super high quality guests that we don't know, and it's going to be an insane banger of an episode because it's gonna flow perfectly.
Yeah, I agree. I'm optimistic like that as well. Now let's talk about the actual episodes a little more, because Dylan and I privately, we talk about this. Right now, the setup of most episodes is the first third, I'll break it down into thirds. The first third is we get to know the person a little bit within their business. Second third is we talk about more processes, like working more smarter and like what exactly is going on there. And then the third is usually kind of just a roundup or shooting the shit or however that looks.
Yep.
And we think it's a great method,
Format.
right? I
Yeah.
mean, we think it's a nice format. Um, but do our listeners? I'm not sure.
Yeah. That's a good point. How do we even get yeah, how do we even get feedback from that though? I think we got to be more active on our Instagram account because, granted we post every single episode. We got, 50 followers, like, and not that much, but we get great amount of views. We got to be posting polls on it every single week and becoming more interactive with our
Yeah,
followers.
I think so. But anyway, back to the formatting. We have discussed that it might be a better episode or better content if we really, that second third where we're really specifically talking about where they work more smarter, is the premise of the episode.
Yeah.
So we might, if we're interviewing a plumber, we might not even get to know them through being a plumber, but we just specifically talk about their internal system, their technology, or their of networking, or whatever that topic of that day is.
Yeah.
Um, and I think though that I think when we make it to the next level and interview our guests for a second time, now that we've already had that initial conversation with them,
Mhm.
that's where we could dive super deep into a specific topic.
But that makes me think, right? So I was listening to Caleb Hammer talk about his processes and how he picks his people that he
Who
interviews.
is
I know
that?
he's this financial guy that he's like a clickbaity Dave Ramsey type person,
Okay.
and he talks about how bad Gen Z people are with finances, and he kind of just like yells at him, whatever. It's like very clickbaity. And he was saying that his process is he gets hundreds of applications a day, is what he said, hundreds. And then once they get it, he actually has a review team as well. So do we, and go through everything. And they ask for like documents. He's like they have a 10-hour long process to see if an applicant is worth it. Obviously, is that working
Yeah.
more smarter? Maybe because it's going to produce a better result. But they
So what's
have
the formatting like for those episodes?
well, the formatting is what you're saying. It's like they're already going in with the information. So I see here you have blah 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 blah. Tell me about that. And it's like they
Mhm.
already know everything and they're going into the second half of the podcast already and then stretching that. So there's no need for the follow-up
I
episode.
do think that that is the better way. And I think that it's okay that we're not there now. We're only 42 episodes in, but I think that that is better content and that
Yeah.
we'll get there.
Yeah. I
You
agree. I
agree?
think we'll get there. I think we'll get there too. And it's not and like his has been I think like 6 or 7 years in the making.
Yeah,
So when you
exactly.
see
It
that,
doesn't
it's
start
just
that
like,
way.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So,
Yeah, when we're
but I think
actual podcasters.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And then that I mean that thing's you think about it more too and it's like be podcasters, all these big podcasts are in person and
That's an
that's putting us to
interesting.
a cap.
Yeah, for
So,
at least for content purposes. And but okay, so we're getting about like 25 views and listens. So we're averaging like 25 views on YouTube per episode. Some
yeah.
are a lot more, but averaging. And then like 25 listens through Spotify/Apple. I think that's amazing. I really do.
So it's 50 listens per episode, pretty much.
Yeah.
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 And I think, and like, this is the thing too, is you can say something like that on, like, I'll post on YouTube Shorts a video of me swinging a golf club and I'll get 12,000 views.
Yeah.
Those are like junk views, though. I don't think any of these are junk views. I mean,
Exactly.
maybe, but,
It's long
you know,
form content.
yeah.
And that's why I'm so focused on nothing else but providing great content, because I don't want to lose those views. And I each one is like, wow, you listened to me for an hour
Yeah.
and then it's times 50 people. I think that's an amazing
It's
number.
awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
And that's why, again, like when we have conversations privately and on air right now, it's all about the content being better.
Totally.
It's
Yeah.
not about
And
getting more views or anything like that.
absolutely. And because it'll follow. And
Yeah.
um I think we both talk about how we're big podcast people in general, where we like to listen to podcasts. I want to listen to a podcast that is actually beneficial. So like if I'm like doing work around the house or whatever, I'm putting my AirPods in and I'm listening to a podcast of an entrepreneur who started a plumbing company. Like that's sick. Hearing his
Me too.
story for 45 minutes. That's awesome.
Me too. I love hearing that stuff. And I'm more
Yeah.
into that than someone famous. It's more relatable.
I think it would be pretty sweet to get Gary Vee on the podcast. And so that would be
We speak for us, yeah.
yeah, yeah, speaking for us. But I think that is I think I brought this up before, but Theo Vaughn has had like a garbage man on the podcast, and like I don't know,
Yeah,
I
the
guess in
Rizzler
his
on.
world, it's like regular people, right?
Mhm.
Um, but people say like those got millions of views, and it's just like wow, it's cool. People like actually care to listen about that stuff.
Yeah. Well, and it comes down to content. I think he's really good, Theo Vaughn, at
Yeah,
being himself.
yeah,
I'm not even saying interviewing because it's not quite that, but it's
no,
his version of
yeah,
it. I mean,
yeah.
yeah, he had the Rizzler on, and starting now, episode 42, 12 minutes in, we're getting the Rizzler on. Like that's my new motive here. I need the Rizzler on this on this podcast.
There's no way he works more smarter.
His dad.
Yeah, for real.
He'd be like,
So
"Yo, and I did my science homework and I cheated the whole time." Like that's more smarter. That counts.
yeah, fair. I think like what we've seen, this is something that we haven't even talked about, but we went to the networking event with a past guest, this networking event, and I think that opened up both of our eyes. We had like a very in-depth conversation on the way back, and it opened up both of our eyes to what's actually possible with this podcast, and then external to that and what it can create. So let's dive a little deeper
So
into that.
yeah, so to recap, we were invited by a former guest who we still don't know how he applied. Like we don't know where he found
We
us.
didn't ask.
I keep forgetting
Yeah,
to ask him.
yeah, I know.
But it was a great episode and we really liked each other and he invited us after to his like event and we attended. So we met someone we hadn't known in person. And that's already a huge win. And I've already gotten more out of the podcast than I thought I would get ever, just
Yeah,
from meeting him in person and then going there, meeting people in his world that we then played sports with a couple weeks after that.
yeah,
So yeah, I think that's amazing. That's what I want out of this selfishly. And I want to provide great content unselfishly.
yeah. Totally, totally. And it's the selfish part of it is what's gonna keep it going. I think for the short term. I think, and that's like the bigger thought process towards it.
Well, yeah,
And
I think we're on the right. I think if we both agree that we want that out of the podcast, and we're not saying we want money or we want fame or we want views or anything like that, then I think we're doing it right.
yeah, exactly. And that brings up the same conversation where it's all right. That was still in New Jersey. It was a little farther away, but it's still in New Jersey. When we now are having these guests that are international or domestic, like I I am that starts to now waver where it's like, is that possible? Should we really only be focusing on people in the tri-state area, or are we like going worldwide with this thing?
It's content first, and then we'll see what comes of it, right? So
Yeah.
we will see. We have several months of a sample size coming up of people we don't know that are all over the country.
Yeah.
If it creates great content, then that's a huge win, and we stick with it. If for some reason it doesn't, and we don't get that personal relationship with them because they live too far, then that's probably not the best situation.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I'm also thinking about like if I was just a listener to the More Smarter show and I heard a brainstorming background, like this is a conversation that can totally happen off air. And I think it's cool that we're bringing it to our audience and saying like, hey, this is our thoughts towards the show, and like, thanks for listening.
This is exactly the conversation that has happened many times and will continue to off air. It's just now we're recording. There's actually no filter to it. I mean, it's the exact same words.
Yep.
But
Exactly.
let's also zoom out and think about the history of the 42 episodes. That in the beginning, we were just trying to be good speakers. Remember? That was now like several months ago, but we were just like, hey, how do we get better at not saying like and having, open-ended responses to our guests and things like that. And I think that's not even something we discuss anymore. I think we even discussed that on our New Year's episode when it was just us.
Yeah.
And now 3 months, 4 months later, we're not even talking about that. Now we're taking that next level, which I think is cool.
Which is awesome. Yeah. And that's something that, that kind of just goes with the flow, right? That's just the next level up. And you start practicing the content. We kind of figured out our systems immediately in the back end of everything, and scheduling everything and editing. And then the content and the guests come next. And then now my mind goes to, all right, yeah, how do we continue to improve?
And it's funny because I feel bad for our first few guests because we sucked and we weren't even using Riverside. We were using Google Meet.
Yeah.
And it was just like, I won't even listen to those episodes, so I feel bad. But then I'm thinking, okay, in 6 months, I'm going to feel bad for our guests now because we're going to be so much better in 6 months for whatever we come up with.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something that, that gets me so hyped up. I get hyped up thinking about that, and it's just the progressive growth of the show, and then also seeing that in us too. Like I'm thinking too, it's like back when we started, I know we had like the rough draft start in February, but like I was nowhere near the person that I am now, and same with you. And I think like the More Smarter show kind of forced me to be a person that works more smarter in my life and my business.
I agree, because I don't want to get embarrassed on the air if I do something stupid in real life, and then I'll be like, wait, like I always have to like uphold to the More Smarter co-host, I can't be more dumber off air.
Yeah, totally. Totally. Yeah. Well, so going back to our past episodes, and I guess how we kind of improved over the time, is my thought towards us being in the position we are now. We're going to that networking event, talking with all these different people, getting a massive influx of different applications that we don't know. It brings you to the mindset level of, okay, yeah, like you want to be on our podcast, and like, it's like not as fun, and it's just kind of felt weird at first. Honestly, it did. And inviting those people, it's just like they're almost like, I don't want to say doing us a favor at that time, but like
there were people who like felt like that, and I was like, no, like we have a whole list of applicants. Like you're not doing me a favor. Like no, thank you.
Yeah. And that's something I'm really glad we're definitely stepping away from. Yeah.
Yes. I didn't like that. I mean, because even these solo episodes are pretty cool, but also like we've had personal reach outs to people and invites plenty that either said they're going to do it or didn't answer, but like said they're going to do it, but didn't do it. And that's fine. Like we're not chasing them down. Like, I'm sorry, but this is great exposure for the guests, not for us. I mean, these are 25 views per episode on YouTube today, but even like I'm sure there'll be 100 views for even the episodes that already happened, in 6 months.
Yeah, totally. I agree. And thinking of that, and how we got to keep like the Dave Portnoy mindset in the back of our mind, of the people that said they were going to sign up and didn't, and then have like a champagne bottle on the side and say, then when they ask to be on the show in 18 months from now, we're going to have to pop it.
I have a list of people in my phone. It's nothing to do with the show, except the one person that didn't show up. That person is on the list. I have a list of people who have wronged me, and it's usually by no showing. So I'm all for that popping.
Yeah.
You are definitely people. I just on my notes. Yeah.
You want to out them right now?
Yes, but no.
Yeah, probably not a good idea. So speaking of something that I did not work more smarter in. I obviously bought this house. There's a lot of renovations that need to get done to the house. I put a lot of money down, and I've the rest of my money is in Bitcoin, which is down right now, and also stocks, which is down right now. So I'm not selling those, and I'm low on money right now. And I when I filed my taxes, was not thinking, and I preset the the payment to be April 1st. I kinda woke up and I looked at my bank account and I thought it was an April Fool's joke, but it
So it's
wasn't because I was in the negatives for, like, the first time ever
so
in
it's
my
April
checking
1st
account.
today.
April
So
1st
this
is
happened.
today.
It's
This
10 a.m.
happened
So this
this
happened today.
morning.
Okay.
I woke up 4 hours ago. I looked at my phone. It's like, "You have a negative balance in your checking account." And I was like, "Oh, shit. I've completely forgot about that." So, I didn't know that the IRS can just, like, go into your bank. And, like, I didn't think I gave them my information, but they just went in, took my tax money, and then left me poor as a
Yeah. So
as a young
you're in the
man.
negatives right now.
I'm in the negatives right now. I mean, obviously, I have other money that I can pull in and cover
Yeah. Yeah.
that stuff, and I have like my tenants are supposed to pay me for the first month rent
True.
today, so that's
True.
obviously a plus. And then on top of that, I have 3 closings this month, so like I'll be fine.
Yeah.
It's just like I'll be fine in 2 weeks.
I've
Right
been
now,
there
I'm not
so
gonna
many
be.
times,
Yeah.
except I haven't been in the negative, but I've been in almost the negative so many times. And it's like, oh, closing in 2 weeks. Oh, tenants in 2 weeks, you know?
Yeah.
And I kind of live like that. It's now I'm extremely used to it because that really is, even still, we have no guaranteed income. So it's sort of how I
Yeah.
live still.
Yeah. Is that a good thing though?
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess it's because you're putting like I'm not in this position because I just gambled my money away. No,
Yeah, you
I
didn't
put my
buy a
money.
car, you bought a
Yeah.
house. Yeah, I
Yes.
mean,
Yeah.
exactly. That's like the point. It's you're supposed to be uncomfortable, right? It's not
Yeah.
supposed to feel comfortable,
Totally. I
right?
think it's almost at like what point though should you not
Mm.
feel like that anymore? Where,
That's a whole nother
yeah,
conversation that we've
yeah,
had a lot.
yeah.
I know.
Well,
I'm
that's. I
addicted to
mean,
feeling that way.
exactly. Yeah, and I mean, I've had one. I've only had one purchase, and I'm already addicted. I've always been pro not really caring about your current situation. Like, if your current
What does that mean?
situation, yeah. Well, I was gonna explain.
What the hell does that mean?
So I dropped out of college. All my friends were out hanging out, having fun, parties, whatever. I was working in real estate, and I was like, I don't really care. Like I can, yeah, maybe I can go have fun here and there, but I don't care that I'm not in school and I'm not living with my friends. I'm living at home, and it's because I'm already mentally in this next phase. And that's what I'm saying. So I don't really care about my current situation because mentally I already own another triplex in
Yeah,
in a different area that I'm living in. And now I'm,
exactly.
you know?
And also, it's not just mentally. You're not convincing yourself of something that's not true. It's the truth that you could at any point move in there.
Mhm.
I
Sure.
feel the same way about my well, not for me, but for my family. Like my parents, when they sold their house and before they bought their next one, they moved into my condo and were my tenants for like 6 months. And it's not quite what you're saying, but it's cool to that like there's a roof over there that exists that you could
Yeah.
stay in if you ever
Yeah.
need it.
Yeah. 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 That is cool. And it's something that you really obviously have to work for, and it's not something like that's where taking those risks are fine. Where I'm fine being out this money because not only is it going to push me to strive for more, but it's also going to allow opportunities like that, and then making money in
Well,
the future.
if you sold your house that you just bought last week for 100K more than you bought it for, and you had that money instead of that house, would you feel like more safe, more secure, or less secure?
I would feel. I mean, I would feel more secure. I would feel more secure in the moment. I would never do that though. I was talking with my brother and his and my and a friend, and I wouldn't even do that for 200 $200,000 profit.
Same.
I would rather hold on to this house. Like,
I mean,
that's what yeah, I mean, that's I like, not only just the feeling of it and, like, the ability to do that, but I seriously think over the lifespan of me owning that, I'm gonna make $700,000, you know?
I agree. I mean, I think that it's in a weird way, I feel more secure having real estate that I can't even liquidate anytime soon than cash. Like when I have too much money, I have to buy another house. Like it feels unsafe to me. I'm like, what do I do?
Is that because of inflation, or what's the reason for that?
It may have started practical like that, but it probably is at this point more of a something I'm just more used to now of being
Mhm.
house poor. But also, yeah, like that example I gave with my parents moving into the condo, and it just goes back to why I'm in real estate to begin with, is because I view it as such an asset that I would not trade money for it. I
Yeah.
don't need money,
Yeah.
even if I don't have money, I don't need it.
Yeah. Well, the good thing though is once you own a lot more, like you do, for like I guess expenses, your monthly expenses are not nearly as high because you have a little bit of overflow from here and there and that. You can.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, until renovation happens,
Yeah,
like it
true.
could be a bad month easily.
Yeah.
I'm
Fair.
just hashtag naivete, and I want to lean into my naivete, my being
Yeah.
naive, and
Being more dumber.
yeah, and be like, yeah, that's not gonna happen
Yeah.
because that's what got me this far, and then I'll figure it out when it does happen.
It hasn't happened yet? You haven't had a major expense?
Roofs, yeah, trees, like yeah, like I've had expenses.
Mm.
But I'm going through right now like a next level for my own portfolio here with a vacancy today, another potential vacancy in 2 months. I'm waiting to hear back from my tenants, and under a contract to buy that property as a partner.
Yeah.
So all that's happening while I record this episode.
Yeah. Now at that point, how could you really care about being a realtor at that point when you
No, it's
guys
the
have much going
opposite. It's
on?
the opposite. I extra care about being a
Yeah.
realtor.
Yeah. You need
Yeah, it's
more
the
money
opposite.
coming in. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. That's something too where it's the investor game is so sweet. I was talking with this agent that I might be bringing him to EXP the other day, or this was yesterday,
Yeah,
and
I'm sure.
he he was he closes some realtor deals and he's done a couple of flips and stuff. So, but we were talking, we were like, doing flips is great and buying multifamilies is great and doing all the investor side, but you need something to fuel that. You can't just be, I guess, running off of the profit of one other and then rolling it into the next. It's like that's a little bit, you need something working in the background.
So that I had this conversation with someone yesterday, and this is something that we have talked about. My personal view on cash flow and appreciation in real estate, right? We've talked about that on the on podcasts. And when I say I don't care about cash flow, I obviously care about it, but it's just not number one priority like it is for a lot of people who, in my opinion, don't know better.
Mm,
And I'm again talking about our age range. So if I was 30 years older than I am, then I would not say what I'm saying. But in my opinion, buying real estate now is for preserving wealth, maintaining wealth. It has nothing to do with getting rich. And you need a job or extra cash flow from a business to get rich. And I don't view real estate today as getting me rich. And that's where I think a lot of people get stuck and never buy a property, is because
yeah,
they're trying to live off of cash flow.
yeah.
You agree?
I do, yeah. I mean, I was talking to someone about this one deal, and they were saying $500 a month, or it was like $800 a month in cash flow. And I was like, the down payments and closing costs can be like 80 grand. So you'll make your money back
10%.
in 6 years or whatever. And yeah, it's like
Actually,
he
it's
was
more
like,
than
no,
10%.
yeah, he was like, I'm like, what? That's a no brainer to me. But yeah, I mean, totally agree with you.
Like anything can cash flow if you put enough money down. It doesn't mean it's a good
Yeah,
idea to do it.
true.
There's a threshold at which you make the most and the least amount of cash on cash return, which is return on investment. And that depends on the down payment and your all in costs. for me, it's like, I'm like, pay attention to like everyone. It's not about cash flow because again, like you can buy the worst deal and it can cash flow if you have $1 million.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah.
mean it's a 0.1% return. It's not a good idea.
Yeah. But that you're saying it's because of appreciation is what the main thing is then.
I'm So of course, location and therefore appreciation has to work in your favor, but it could still be if the premise was cash flow is the best, then that should mean you should buy everything in cash and not have a mortgage, right? And if someone doesn't agree with that, then they have to disagree with the first part, that the more cash flow, the better.
Mm.
There's leverage is a great thing. There is a tool. I mean, there's a threshold at which using leverage as a tool,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
important to understand where that is.
True.
You know what I mean?
True. Yeah, I know I do. And I think for everyone out there, it's they don't I guess maybe people that aren't in real estate every day don't have as much faith in real estate as we do.
Totally. Well, there's that, and they rightfully don't have as much faith in real estate
Yeah.
because they're
Fair.
not in it every day. That's totally fair.
Yeah.
And I hear a lot of people. They had a call last night with someone who wants to quit his job, not tomorrow, but he wants real estate to be the reason he quits his job. And I think you're in it for the wrong reason. If that's the case, I think you should go flip houses,
Mm.
but you're going to make a stupid decision if you're relying on cash flow to quit your job in the next 10 years. You'll hockey stick one day, but you got to play the long game.
Totally. Yeah.
I thought of this really
That long
cool.
game is played through just being all out, right, at a young age. That's it.
Yeah, and having negative after paying taxes. For real. That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
So
fair.
I thought of this cool idea. This like, I don't know how I'm going to put it into reality, but I thought of this yesterday that I want to throw like a I don't know if this is for like a client or a friend or myself or you, throw someone a party when they've reached like a certain threshold of what their net worth, but like from real estate is.
Okay.
And it's a hockey themed party because it's like a hockey stick.
Hockey stick.
Because
I like it.
and even me, I'm only like 6 years in, I'm still sort of here.
Yeah.
But my first property is kind of hockey sticking, and like, some are getting close, but like once that mortgage hits year 10, we're having a hockey theme party,
Yeah. And that is a millionaire party. That's something where
sort of.
it's just like, yeah, you're getting to that phase and it's like you keep going all out on these investments and it makes sense that you're at that point.
Yeah, and that's like I'm the never sell guy, and I realize that doesn't always mathematically win.
Yeah.
Right?
That's with your Bitcoin holdings too?
I don't have much of that. I meant for real estate.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's wrong advice. Okay, if we were black and white on paper, it's wrong advice, right? There's a time to sell. There's return on equity metrics, and there's a time to sell and like recapture and to reinvest. As of now, I can't do it though. I can't do it.
Mm. Even if you hit those numbers, the return on equity?
Absolutely. I can't do it.
Just because you love being in the game?
Yeah. And I think there'll be a point where that cash flow conversation I was having, where I could be like, wow, if I sold this, had all this money and bought something cash or for a lot of money down or a really big property, and that cash flow that could produce can retire me, then that's the conversation. But until then, it's a no for me, dog.
It's fair. That's the dream world though. I know this one guy who owns something like that, and it's like he put a lot of money in, all cash, no mortgage on it, and it's making like he's fully retired off of it, and he's just living a great life, and all he has to focus on is this one square mile, or not, obviously not that much, but like this one little spot, and that's it. Yeah.
What's that monthly number that, not for this guy, but like that you're thinking is it net income? Yeah.
For me personally?
Yeah, for you to ever be in that situation.
So I like, there's a couple of things that I would go into it where it's like, all right, I want to have a big family. I want to have 5 kids. So having 5 kids, expensive and all this stuff. So I don't know. I would say that makes me feel like I'm like in a phenomenal spot is like 75,000 a month.
That's a lot.
A phenomenal spot is what I said. Phenomenal spot.
What
That's
property is
obviously
ever
just
gonna do
like cash
that?
flow.
Yeah, that's net cash flow, and that's a lot. That's a lot. How is that
I definitely
possible?
I definitely overstrung it. Yeah.
Oh
No,
my
I don't know.
god.
Maybe I would say 25 to 50 then.
That's still a lot. Yeah.
What are you thinking? Put me on the spot here. What's in your mind?
I was thinking 10 to 20.
That's net after taxes and
Well, not
expenses
after
and
tax. After property taxes. Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
property taxes.
Right, like net operating income per month.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a number that, again, I agree with you. You can't predict kids and inflation at that point and everything else and
Yeah.
all the other factors, but it's something like I think that's significant, and it would be significant for me to have to, like, make that move.
Yeah. Something that could happen though. Gotta keep going all out. That's it. Moral of the story. And then just do the More Smarter show, and that's it. You have that one
Full
asset and
time.
you do the More Smarter show full time.
That's right. Oh,
That's the goal.
might have some ads. Should I tease that? I don't
Tease
know.
it.
I don't wanna lose listeners, but there might be an ad or 2 coming up in future episodes. We
Yeah.
got some sponsorships coming up.
Yeah. So it's all good news and and people that are loyal listeners, I feel like we really haven't like I guess said on air a lot of the time. Appreciate you. And if there if there's any questions that you guys have too, or anything that you guys want us to specifically talk about or any specific guests that you would want to see on, we're open to,
I mean, all of our
definitely.
listeners live with you, so they can just kind of knock on your door and, ask you, "Hey, you should have someone on," you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, unless I move out. So then we'll
True.
see about that. But all right, Jake, this is great. Guys, episode 42 of the More Smarter Show. Like, share, and follow along.
Only if you like it.